presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
Senegal baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. Find them at motleyrice.com. JB and Goldwater, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at stokesvw.com. They've got an incredible selection of used cars. If you're planning to tailgate this fall and you haven't quite decided on the new ride, I'd suggest StokesVW.com to help you out. JBandGoldwaterShow.com to find out more about us. You can always download our app as well, JB and Goldwater. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB, and at Darren Goldwater. The Share Healthcare text lines, chat lines, and phone lines are open. 843-321-8893. That is our phone number. And, of course, you can comment like Craig and Adam and Clint and who was the early bird today? Walter. What's up, Walter? And so many others that do every day. Pop us a note, and we'll pop it into the program, sharehealthcare.com. Don't get stuck with big medical bills. Learn all about Share Healthcare, sharehealthcare.com. In addition to Darren and I, we'll be joined by Josh Pate at 12:30 this afternoon, the host of the Late Kick podcast, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He's going to be live from Ames or Iowa City. They're in Iowa City this weekend, right?
They are at Iowa State.
They're at Iowa State. He's going to Ames. Woo! All right. Iowa State this weekend. Josh will be there. Obviously, we're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk a lot about the SEC and the strength of the middle class in that league and what this weekend means for it. As Darren pointed out yesterday, Josh is pretty brilliant when it comes to betting lines. So one of the questions I have for him is, why has this ECU South Carolina line moved back and forth all week long? Right now, it's still Gamecocks at -2, and that is per mybookie.ag. David Shelton at 105 today with the Post-Courier. I don't know who's playing in high school football, so we're going to find out. And then Scott Glaze at 135. He'll wrap the FedEx Cup, and now the Ryder Cup team is complete for the Americans. 6 selections named yesterday by Steve Stricker, and we'll let Scotty kind of break that down for us as well. We've got some Big 12 stuff to get to. Obviously, the NFL is back tonight, the 300th start in the career of Tom Brady, which is going to be pretty neat to listen to if you're going to be watching the game tonight. I know that I certainly will be. There's no college football, as far as I'm aware of, on TV. Carolina Calls is tonight. Want to remind everybody, make sure you've got the Gamecocks app downloaded, unless you're in the Columbia area. You can, of course, listen there. And then Darren, I didn't tell you this morning via text that we were going to talk about this. This is kind of a late ad, but I saw a tweet yesterday from Terry McCauley, McCauley, I believe, who's the officials guy for Fox, and he had screenshotted a picture of Brian Kelly over the weekend arguing on the field with an official, and noted that the official rule book now says, if you step out through the coach's box to argue with an official, it's an automatic 15-yard penalty, and they should have thrown a flag on him. Get out of here with that crap. How soft has this world gotten? My God. That's one of the great things about sports, especially football and baseball, is watching the coaches argue with the officials or argue with the umpiring crew. Now we won't even let them step foot on the field to have a conversation. Oh, my God. So we got to talk about that.
Well, I mean, they're getting rid or trying to get rid of taunting at every level of football, right? It feels like it's an extension of it, but are the refs really going to throw that flag? I mean, if the coach is mad that he's going to step a couple feet out and give you his thoughts, then imagine how enjoyable it'll be for your ear when you throw a flag on him for doing it. So it wasn't flagged there. My guess is there's going to be a little bit of leeway, but it gives the officials the ability that if the coach crosses that line, they can say, all right, here's your 15 yards. And they always had that ability. I mean,
Right.
You cross that line, you have that ability to get a 15-yarder there. It's not going to get me all worked up. It's just another rule that's out there that isn't really going to impact my life at all. But I see what you're saying.
Well, it's not going to impact your life until James Franklin is walking on the other side of the white 6-foot wide coach's box, whispering in the ear or something else in the ear of an official, and they turn around and peg him with a flag for 15 yards and it costs you the game. Then it'll affect your life. I mean, I don't know that it'll ever get to that point, but my point is what's more than likely going to happen, and of course now that I saw this yesterday, so maybe there's some national attention on it, I don't know. You're right. It's not going to get called often, but there will be a time in an important game, in a crucial game that's close. That's when these coaches lose their lunch generally. And someone's going to say, yeah, I've had enough. And they're going to toss a flag. And then that's going to be a major talking point on every show across America. I don't know if it'll happen this weekend. Might happen in week 6. Might happen in the playoffs. But I was, oh my God. My exact tweet was, oh, dear Lord, grow a pair. I mean, come on. And here's the other part of this.
Well, I mean, the horns down thing is supposed to be a penalty, right? It's right. Hand in hand with this whole
garbage.
Yeah. Garbage. It's just trying to make everyone nicer. Put a smile on your face.
Yeah, and nobody's nice anymore. So I mean, like, why are we trying to put the square peg in the round hole? I just, the other side of it for me though is like officiating is sometimes just not actually good. Like sometimes it's really bad. And I saw a couple of plays again, as I do every year in pretty much every game that I watch with South Carolina, but that's because I'm watching intently. Like I know I'm watching it. So I know if it's, well, that's not a good flag or that is a good flag. So if I bring attention to it, it's because like, that's what I was focused on. So I saw it.
Right.
The national things that get attention brought to them are the ones that matter more nationally. The EIU South Carolina game didn't matter to anybody nationally. So, like, I saw a couple of flags in that game. I was like, oh, really? I get it. It's week 1, but, can't we have replay for those guys too? Like, well, you know what? That wasn't a flag. Maybe I should not have tossed that. Can't we have a coach's replay for, garbage pass interference and things like that?
Targeting or redo that rule. I mean, I'd rather targeting be clearer and something that can be consistent than you throw out a flag on a coach because he's upset that you probably missed a call.
So all right. So to your point, I'm going to bring this up again. And, I've been asking this question for what year is this? 21, 20, 19, 18, 5 years. I've been asking the same question for 5 years, back from when I was with it on ESPN. And we had a Penn Wagers. Who's a great friend of Bobby Harton's, a great guy, wonderful guy. So Bobby would have him on the air every year, and then I was lucky enough to actually have him on my show a couple of times. And I asked him the same question for 3 straight years. And I've been asking the same question, and I've never gotten an answer. And here's the question. Let's let anybody that's watching or listening, if you're watching, you can see it. If you're listening, close your eyes and picture this. Darren is the defender. He's running over to tackle me. Here I am. I'm holding the football. And Darren is about to make contact. He's not out of position. He's not attempting to target me with his helmet. He is coming to make a clean, crisp tackle. And I put my head down to protect myself in the football, and Darren accidentally hits me in the head and gets 15 yards and gets tossed out of the game. Why is that targeting? And why is it not on the offensive player if you're going to throw it? Because he's the one that initiated the helmet to helmet, not the defensive player. And I'm not saying I saw this in the Carolina game last weekend. I'm just saying I see it every year. Ask the same question every year, and nobody has an answer.
I think in that instance that you just described, if that's flagged, it's an incorrect flag. It'll happen because we get incorrect flags in targeting all the time because it's pretty hard to give you a definition of targeting. I can read you the rule book definition of targeting, but it's hard to get a definition of targeting that is consistent and consistently applied. But if I'm going to make a good, crisp, clean tackle, then number one, my head is up and I am not leading with my helmet or the crown of my helmet. That is a primary part of targeting. So if I'm in a good position, you, the ball carrier, duck your head and we hit heads, that should not be targeting. Sometimes it's flagged, but It should not be flagged. There are other instances that are blatantly targeting that aren't flagged. There was a call in the Penn State game when Penn State lost its middle linebacker that was having a hell of a day late in the game, and there was no flag on the field. I watched it live, and I said to my wife, as it happened, I said, oh, that's not good. That's pretty obvious. The game was eventually stopped. That call was actually, I was right in that instance, and now our middle linebacker isn't going to be there for the first half of the Ball State game. There are clear-cut instances, and there are gray area instances, and unfortunately, the gray area is like the Indian Ocean, and the clear-cut one is like Lake Moultrie.
Yeah, well, it's because you have the two words. You have intent, and then you have indicator. You have the indicator. You have the two I's, the two I words that are involved. Is there an indicator, like a launch or something like that? And then what is their intent? And I mean, I don't know how you judge somebody's intent without being in their brain. So you have to go to the video to watch it, and you have to try to determine intent. I mean, it's not an easy job to do, but I've never understood this. Like, you still see it, like you just said. I mean, guy puts his helmet down, or, a guy, he's about to step out of, he's on the sidelines. Instead of stepping out, he attempts to go another yard or two to try to gain a first down or something. So he puts his head down and barrels forward, targeting. And you're like, what? He's the one that, hey, wait a second. So, anyways, I don't know. But if you find that answer, maybe Josh has that answer in about 15 minutes. But if anybody finds that answer, pass it along.
He can give you the definition. It's forcibly launching head, crown at the head, shoulder area. That's like the blinking red sign. Then there are other indicators that are out there. But if you forcibly launch your head, crown of the helmet, at another head, neck area, that should be and has been pretty consistent, but that should be every time.
Absolutely. Probably a good time to remind you, if you've been hitting the head with a Takata airbag, you might want to contact Motley Rice, motleyrice.com. Auto recalls like the Takata airbags have been a burden on Americans for quite some time, and they have led this charge across the country. motleyrice.com. If you've been harmed by medical drugs and devices and things of that nature, just check out the website. Motley Rice, you might think that they're just bigger than God or bigger than the world because they are an enormous law firm that has local roots, but that's the thing about Motley Rice. They care about their local roots. motleyrice.com. All right, so the NFL's back tonight, Darren. And we got Brady, you got the Cowgirls. The Bucks are 8.5-point favorites in the ball game at 8:20 on NBC. 300 career starts now for Tom. He's got probably 10, 12 years left in the tank, it seems. So this is just another season for him. Number one, the first question I have for you is, are you going to be watching the game?
Absolutely. I'm watching the game.
Right. Okay.
That's why I chuckled. I almost thought that was a joke. Yeah.
Well, some people, they don't care, but I'll be watching that. I think the Bucks will win. And here's the big question, though: do the Bucks win another Super Bowl? That's the big question.
No, the Bucks don't win another Super Bowl. But yeah, I'm absolutely watching. I mean, it's not a secret that I love the NFL. It was my first football follow long before I got into the game of college. So, I mean, I'm all about the NFL. For a long time when I had DirecTV, I got the package too. So I'm intrigued. there are so many questions heading into the season. I'm looking forward to similarities with college, with the fans being back. I'm looking forward to a 17-game season because we've never had that. So they've been able to market the biggest season ever or something, whatever they've used.
Yeah,
but it should be,
All right.
looking forward to it, right? Kick it off on NFL. The Peyton and Eli alternate broadcasts on Monday night. They'll do some of those. Those should be awesome. There's a lot I'm looking forward to.
All right, so the local notes for the Bucks, obviously, former Clemson punter Bradley Pinion is going to be punting, and former Gamecock kicker, guy I've known for a long time, great dude, Ryan Suckup, he's still going to be kicking. So we'll be paying attention to those guys, and then on the Cowboys side of things, remember Rico Dowdle actually was in line to get great PT this year, and then he got hurt. So you're not going to see him in there, but former Clemson Tiger Carlos Watkins is scheduled to start tonight at defensive tackle. Just kind of an FYI to everybody, we are not going to give you state names for every NFL game every week. Just so happens to be the first game of the season, so I figured I'd point out a couple of little nuggets to kind of pass along. And Izzy McQuamu is on the depth chart, third at safety behind Donovan Wilson and J-Ron Curse for Dallas. And, of course, Izzy McQuamu played at South Carolina, and J-Ron Curse played at Clemson. So some Tigers and some Gamecocks will be out there mixing it up tonight. But quick pick, I've got the Bucks in this one.
I've got the Bucks. I don't think they cover it, and I'm looking forward to watching Michael Parsons as well. The high draft pick. I don't remember exactly what it was. I want to say 11, where he went to the Cowboys. Could have been 8. But either way, Michael Parsons, the linebacker from Penn State, had a good preseason and should be the next Penn State linebacker in that long line.
Who has the better night, Dak or Tom? I think Dak throws for more yards.
I agree with that. That's why I think it's a tough question. But there are still questions about Dak. How healthy is he? There are reports that he's going to have lingering issues all year long, and then there's his side, which is I'm totally fine. So how healthy is he? And what does this second year under Brady Buccaneers team look like? Let's go. I mean, what time is the kickoff? 8:00 tonight? It's 7 or 8:00 tonight. Either one. But I'm ready for it.
I think it's 8:20 or something like that. Let's see. 17-game schedule. 12-5 for the Bucks this year. 12-5.
Oof. Well, if that's going to happen, then they're a good seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, 12-5.
All right.
There you go. There's my preseason Tampa Bay pick for everybody. I'm sure everybody couldn't wait to hear that. All right, UCF Cincinnati, they have now submitted bids to the Big 12, but tomorrow the Big 12 is set to formally invite 4 teams, including Houston and BYU, tacking onto those 2 programs that we just mentioned. I have a quick question here. Isn't the Big 12 doing what they accused the SEC of doing, even though the SEC didn't do that, but they're doing it? Just asking for everybody out there.
Well, I guess the question then needs to be exactly which aspect of that, right? Because did they say that the SEC went and stole Texas and Oklahoma? Yeah. Or what they're doing is reactionary, and what the SEC did was the beginning of the whole thing. So you can make the case that what they're doing is reactionary and is not the same thing.
So it's the SEC's fault. That's what we're saying.
Well, that's what started all this. I'm not saying it's a fault.
No.
It's not.
We've already gone through this. Oklahoma and Texas started all this. The SEC did not start this. Oklahoma and Texas reached out to the SEC.
Yeah, but don't say the SEC is completely innocent here. Of course, the SEC was involved in this and starting this.
Yeah, but they knocked on the door of the SEC. The SEC said, "Of course, we'll talk to you." And everybody accused the SEC of poaching programs, which is not what happened. And here's the Big 12 poaching programs to try to survive. It's exactly what's going on here.
You can frame it that way, but
It's
in
not,
that, but in
that
that,
is
what
so
you're
true.
saying, but you're saying the SEC has no fault in this at all. Like,
how I don't understand how. Why would the SEC did exactly what the Pac-12 should have done 8 years ago?
Oklahoma and Texas approached the SEC, but it wasn't like they approached a brick wall guarded gate. It was very reciprocal. This wasn't some out of the blue. It was very much reciprocal. So it's framed by the SEC as, oh, these guys came. there are multiple reports, despite Sankey denying it, that he reached out to at least Ohio State. Those have been verified by lots of different people, verified or reported by many different people. So if you want to sit here and tell me that Sankey is just this little prince sitting in his chair,
Yeah, but none of those teams are in the
everybody's coming to
SEC.
him. No.
And reporting has been wrong a lot lately. So we can't confirm any of that.
Okay, but don't sit here and say the SEC doesn't have a hand in this. What the Big 12 did is reactionary. What the SEC did started what has happened. Oklahoma, Texas, the SEC, they're together in what the SEC did to start this. You can't just separate those two things apart.
So the ACC is being poached by the Big 12. The Big 12 is going to the biggest programs in the ACC.
AAC, yeah.
The AAC, the biggest programs in that league. The AAC without Cincinnati and without Central Florida, and more than likely, if they can get rebounded without Houston, is going to really struggle. Who knows if they're going to go out and try to poach somebody from somewhere else? I don't know, but they are. The AAC commissioner is blaming the Big 12, but the reality of it is, even after we've circled round and round about this, they should be blaming Oklahoma and Texas, because Oklahoma and Texas are who forced all of this. Because if they didn't go anywhere, the Big 12 would not be poaching those schools.
Why are we blaming? Let's not play the blame game here.
But the AAC commissioner is playing the blame game. That's my point. It's right here on front page ESPN.
There are feelings that are hurt, but let us not have the blame game discussion, because this is not a blame game. This is a how do you stay relevant and how do you do your job as an adult. Right. So something happened. How do you do your job as the ACC, Pac-12, and Big Ten commissioners?
Oh, I agree with you.
Right? How do you do your job and react? The Big 12 did the same thing. How do you do your job and react? And now it's Mike Arisco's turn to say, my feelings are hurt, and to say something outlandish like, we're going to expand and it's going to be Power 6. Like, okay.
Yeah, no, you're not.
Good luck.
It's not going to be the Power 6. I got bad news for you. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I totally agree with that. I'm not arguing that point at all.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if you're going to come out and publicly blame the Big 12, well, the Big 12, which you just said just a moment ago, you're right. And there's the Big 12 updated resume from Post Up Careers, is doing what they need to do to survive, which I give them a lot of props for here, because it was only just a few weeks ago that we thought, well, this is it. The Big 12 is going to be picked apart. It's like a lasagna. You pull that thing out of the oven and you got the family gathered around and everybody's looking for their favorite piece, right? Some people like the outside. Some people like the inside. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's not going to be there anymore. However, they've somehow found a way to maybe keep this sucker together, Darren. So I give Bob Bowlesby credit. And here's the other side of this. Here's the important stuff. I think that all four of those athletic departments, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston, I think they'll flourish in the Big 12. I really do. They are going to have access to more cash. And they're going to have access to more opportunity, obviously, by being a part of the Power 5, if you want to consider it that. And they're going to have access to more players, because you're going to have guys now who will look at some of those programs differently. I think that they'll all do very well. And let me remind everybody that right now Cincinnati is ranked 7th in the country. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, look, let's pull up the rankings. This is pretty simple. Let's pull up the rankings. This obviously can all change tomorrow, but you're going to lose Oklahoma and Texas. All right. Right now, Oklahoma's ranked 4th and Texas is ranked 15th. And then if you're the Big 12, you're going to plug in Cincinnati and they're ranked 7th. Oh yeah, you got Iowa State in there in the top 10. So, I mean, if you're going, this is 27 months out, right? Unless they can buy out of it early. Isn't that true?
Yes. So let's see, right? Let's see where this landscape goes, how quickly it moves. Yeah.
So from my understanding, the AAC, BYU, they could probably enter tomorrow if they wanted to, but the AAC has a 27-month notification something, and then a $10 million buyout, which is whatever. Who cares? TV will pay for that if they sign a new TV deal. So that's nothing. So the AAC is going to get $30 million to let these programs go. And you wonder if there would be even another buyout that they could pay to get out of there in under 27 months, which if there is, I would bet you it's affordable. And I bet you this sucker happens pretty. What would really be interesting is this happens before Oklahoma and Texas are let out of the Big 12.
It'll happen.
I don't see it though.
It can't. Right. It technically, I guess it could, but it can't, because everything needs to be worked out from a TV standpoint. What will probably happen, one of two things happens. Either they happen at the same time. The conferences add, Big 12 adds, and they lose Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC at the same time, or the SEC move happens first and then the Big 12. But it's very, very similar to the Big 12. I don't remember the exact numbers, but one of the reasons that the school, Oklahoma and Texas, supposedly had to wait even longer was because there's X amount of time post notification that you had to wait.
Right.
And we still think that money talks, and sooner or later feelings will be hurt. I mean, does the AAC want to go through this for 4 years and have these teams in their league making their money for 4 years when they're leaving? They don't want. Nobody wants. That's not good for anybody.
No. Yeah. I mean, exactly. And if you're talking about paying a buyout to get out of the Big 12, Oklahoma and Texas, well, there of that cash that would be paid, and if I remember correctly, Darren, it was 170 million
Combined
in there. Combined, right?
Yeah, it was right around 80 each.
Okay, so if that is paid to get out early, and these, which obviously, if you held on to the contracts the way that they're laid out right now, you're talking about 2025 for Oklahoma and Texas entering the SEC, and then you're talking about 2023, basically December of 2023. So the start of the 24 season for these four entering the Big 12. So my what I'm getting at here is, from a financial standpoint, obviously those four will be able to enter sooner than the two that are leaving. So if they negotiate a larger buyout, the Big 12 is going to be like, okay, well, we'll pay y'all's buyout with the money that we're getting out of these two programs, and we're still making a bunch of money.
And keep in mind, too, the other conferences, not counting the American, but the other Power Five, want this to happen sooner than later also, so that everyone can put their heads together and figure out, what are we going to do with these playoffs? How are we going to move forward with the sooner the conference realignment stuff settles, at least at that level right there, the sooner they can get back to the drawing board and figure out if this 12-team playoff works, or if 12 works and they have to do it a different way, or what.
Yep, absolutely. Of those four, who do you think has the best chance to be the big, or who of those four is the biggest gainer by this move? Who if you had to say, okay, one of them becomes the next Oklahoma, I'm not predicting that. I'm saying if we had to guesstimate that here in September, who do you think it'd be?
I think the team that adds the most here is actually Cincinnati. And here's why. Houston's already in that market. Houston's already established. They were there before Cincinnati started working up to this level. BYU has that following. They have the money. They have the TV eyeballs already. This will benefit them, but does it benefit them by that same amount? No, because they're starting at a higher level. And Central Florida is starting at a higher level just simply from, and this is my hunch, I don't know this precisely, but from a dollars and cents standpoint, I'm pretty sure Central Florida is ahead of Cincinnati there. They're certainly ahead of Cincinnati on the national radar, even though Cincinnati's ranked higher. Central Florida is the biggest school in Florida, and everybody knows about Central Florida. It rolls off your tongue. So I think Cincinnati benefits most. And also, Wes Miller has successfully jumped from the Southern Conference to the Big 12 in basketball.
Ah, good point. Didn't think about that. I agree with you. I think Cincinnati. Clint, I'll disagree with you on this one, my friend. He says it doesn't seem like those four teams add much value to the Big 12. I think today Cincinnati would add a ton of value to the Big 12. But these are you're not going to be able to go out and just replace Oklahoma and Texas with just anybody. They're going to have to find four teams that can grow into that. And four departments that can grow into that. And I personally believe these four athletic programs probably are the best ones out there. These are the ones people have been whispering about for years. So
it keeps them it keeps them in the conversation. It keeps the Big 12 alive. That's what they did. The Big 12 survived here and will move forward with the rest of the Power 5 conferences. It doesn't put them on level footing, but it puts them in the group. And that's a credit to Bowlesby. It's a credit to the league. There were a lot of people. I was one of them who did not think the Big 12 could really survive this.
Yeah, I think I was right there with you, man. I thought it was pretty much over. All right, this segment's definitely over. We got to hit a timeout. When we return, Josh Pate hops on right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
You are listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
12:34 on this Thursday, rainy, nasty Thursday afternoon here in the low country of South Carolina. Welcome back. The JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. JB, Darren, and Josh, maybe one of the busiest men in sports. He's long hosted the Late Kick podcast, now Late Kick live as well, Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday nights. Good news, today's Thursday, so you can catch him tonight at 8 o'clock, getting you ready for a wonderful college football weekend ahead. Josh, what's up, brother?
Yeah, that's the good news. The bad news, as I huff and puff, is that I thought I had the afternoon timed up, and I thought I was going to be able to park and run down the parking garage and get into the apartment right as we came on air, but instead I'm just trapped on the roof of the parking deck.
There's no better place to be on any show than on a roof of a parking deck.
And let me assure you, it is not rainy and nasty here. I'm acquiring a mild sunburn as we speak.
Well, you're going to Ames, Iowa this weekend. You'll fit right in.
Yeah, you know what? I thought to myself, it's going to be nice and crisp up there. I may even see leaves turning colors. And then I check, and there's a rogue heat wave that is going to move through there about the time that game happens. 94 degrees at kickoff Saturday.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's not Celsius either. It's the good old Fahrenheit scale. It's terrible.
Who does it favor?
Yeah.
What was that?
Who does it favor? The Heat.
Not me.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know that they're going to play football in Iowa. You know, they just played Major League Baseball in Iowa. Did you know that?
I did know that. Here's my goal. Really, I have a lot of goals for why I root for Iowa State. Excuse me, why I support the team.
Ooh.
And the biggest one really is if I predict them to make the playoff, which I did, and they actually make the playoff, I really think I can supplant Kevin Costner in Iowa.
Oh. Wow. Or you could, so next year it could be you that eases out onto the field at Jack Trice Stadium and looks around holding a football in your hand. Everybody's cheering for you. Have you closed your eyes and envisioned all of this just yet?
Not in the last couple of hours. No.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
But
all right,
I really think it would be something that we could develop for the show, you know, sort of like a cult group that remembers there was this one weirdo who works for what's the company? Oh, I don't even remember. Some numbers or letters, but he predicted this to happen. We got to go find him.
Well, they'll know where to find you this weekend. We do have a lot to get to in the SEC and a couple of other little nuggets across the country, but we will start with this game, 4:30 ABC, and as they often say, you know this very well, Josh. You don't just walk into Jack Trice Stadium and beat the Hawkeyes, or beat the Cyclones, whatever. First question I have: has there ever been a top 10 matchup between Iowa and Iowa State?
There's never been a ranked versus ranked matchup. So forget about the top 10.
Wow.
It's so exciting. And it's also, I used to grow up, I didn't used to, I grew up in Georgia. And so I'd never been to Iowa. To this day, I've never been to Iowa. But that place, it might as well have been Canada to me growing up as a kid down in Georgia. But I would always, obviously I knew about LSU and Death Valley at night, and Bryant-Denny Stadium, the Swamp. I knew about all the venues in the South. And I knew about the Horseshoe at Ohio State, Whiteout at Penn State. I knew about all that stuff. But there was this team I used to watch. It was Iowa State. It'd be like an 11 a.m. local kickoff, and I'd watch Texas go in there. And they'd be favored by 4 touchdowns. And they'd win, but it always seemed like they had to crawl over broken glass to do it. It just seemed like that place was so disproportionately hard to play in relative to what I had heard about it, which was nothing. And so now that they've actually gotten a very, very good product on the field, I mean, you're looking at an Iowa team. Spencer Petras, for example, is their quarterback. He has never played a true road game in a hostile environment, period, much less what he's about to walk into Saturday. And it's also a situation where Iowa, I mean, they got some defensive linemen. I'm not going to call them, I'll call them unproven. That's what I'll call them, because that's what they are. They're unproven. They're replacing 3 of them there. And it's when you don't have the edge on the line of scrimmage and you don't have the edge at quarterback, you have to force turnovers in that kind of environment to win. And Iowa did that last week. That is their formula this week, which makes me wonder, could we see a rock fight that winner to first to 16 sort of game?
Well, the odds makers might agree with you there. I think the over-under's around 46 or so. Maybe a low-scoring game. So let me ask you this, Josh. Let me ask you this way. Last week, Iowa blows out Indiana, I think 34-6 final. Iowa State, you could call it this if you'd like to, sneaks past Northern Iowa 16-10. Was that classic case of looking ahead?
Yes. Well, I think it was. I mean, we'll find out this Saturday, but I can tell you this. If you look at odds makers and the position they took on that, it was unchanged. And I looked at our own model, which adjusts real time and it adjusts for injury and performance against competition. It didn't change either. So I know the public probably looked, and what they saw is an Iowa blowout. They probably didn't dig deep because they may not have cared about Iowa versus Indiana. There were 20 there were 20 points off turnovers scored in that game for Iowa. 14 of them were defensive touchdowns. And so it's not that doesn't count. But in terms of future predictability, we have learned, we have long since learned that doesn't carry over. That is very random. And conversely, I think it was kind of predictable to expect Iowa State to not stretch a team and get margin on them the week before they play their biggest game of the regular season. So I think it's game on. As long as they both won, I'd already convinced myself one of them was going to lay an egg. One of them was going to struggle to get by. Now I thought it may be Iowa, but yeah, it really doesn't affect me all that much.
All right. So what's the setup for you this weekend? Like, how can people watch you and the show, and what's going on?
All right, I'm going to give you the company answer. Then I'm going to give you the real answer. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. Company answer. We will be live pre and post game on CBS Sports HQ with all you need to know on the ground in Ames, Iowa. And we'll cut that. All right, here we go. Now the executives tune out. What you really need to do is you really need to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at LateKickJosh, because what I do is after I do that pregame hit, I'm done. Until the game's over, I'm done. And what I try and do is I try and get as much video, like behind the scenes access, up the tunnel, outside the locker room, on the sideline, as much as I can and put it out there. I mean, my Instagram story is on fire on Saturdays, but I put some of it on Twitter too. That I've always tried to do. And that is where I get the most feedback of people saying, wow, I've never seen this before. Wow, I've never been able to see that before. So that to me is the most fun aspect of it.
Let me tell you something,
That's
man.
awesome.
So Friday, I do some high school football game. I'm unwinding back at the house, and I'm just messing around because I'm not tired yet. And there you are with your whatever you're going to name, your Instagram live stuff on Friday night, chatting about a late ad to the Ramen Noodle Express or some betting lines. A, it was informative. And B, it was funny, man. I told Jamie I was rolling around. So are we naming this thing? And Fridays at what time?
Yeah, so there's no set time. This is supposed to be as informal as possible. And what I think we should name it is Friday Night Lines, but I'm flexible on that. But what that's meant to do, I've always known there's a window there because people are doing exactly what you're talking about. I used to do the same thing. You're going to a Friday night high school game, or maybe you're just going out on Friday and you're getting home. And one of the last things a hardcore college football fan does when they go to bed or before they go to bed on Friday night is they check lines and they're thinking about bets they haven't placed yet. So what I like to do, because I have my own numbers, I might as well use them. What I like to do now that I can do it is whenever I'm on the road, I get into the whatever hotel in whatever city we're in, I just crank that thing up. I usually give about a 30-minute heads up to let people know it's coming, but I crank that thing up and I just go in the live chat and I take suggestions. We go through about 10 or 15 games. It's not that I'm handing out, added bets or anything like that, but there are a lot of people who may want to play Western Kentucky Army for whatever reason. You go for it. You live your life. It is America, depending on what state you live in. And so I just give them our opinion. I'll tell them what our model thinks. There was, for instance, a game last week, Texas, Louisiana. I didn't bet it officially. I didn't hand it out officially. But our model was screaming, take Texas. I just didn't trust it. I thought there were too many variables involved. But I told those Instagram Live viewers, I said, look, our model is calling this a 61% cover probability, but not for Louisiana, like a lot of you think. It's for Texas. And some people rode that. Some people made money. I don't know how much money they lost if they listened elsewhere. I think the leans went 7-2 that I talked about the other night. So the stuff we talked about there actually did better in week one than the Ramen Noodle Express itself, which is not the way we draw it up, but that's the way it went.
It helped. Personal story. It helped me. So nice.
So if somebody were to bet,
I'm happy to contribute to the low country economy. More than happy.
All right. So if somebody were to bet this game this weekend, what would you tell them?
Oh man, find a better game.
Okay.
I feel good about Iowa State winning the game, but look, here's how low the margin for error on this kind of game is. I feel very good about Iowa State winning the game, and yet the spread's only 4.5, and I would not lay the 4.5 with them. Normally, when you say that kind of stuff, if it's anything under a touchdown and you're confident the team's going to win, you would feel confident laying the point. This could be a convincing Iowa State win and be 24-20 because that's the kind of style both of them play. And so it's going to be very, very razor thin. I wouldn't look at it. I wouldn't be betting it. There are far better options to me on the board.
Josh Pate, 12:44 on a Thursday afternoon here on JB and Goldwater. All right, let's slide to the SEC. We're going to mix the ACC as part of this conversation as well. Josh, it's what I've been calling a blue-collar weekend throughout the week, because I feel like the middle class of both the SEC and the Southeast, the SEC and the Atlantic Coast Conference have a chance this weekend to prove themselves, strengthen themselves. That question may be answered depending on who you ask and how it's viewed. But some of the matchups that I'm discussing, obviously one of them pertains to this state directly, South Carolina and East Carolina. I'm going to get to this line in a minute with you. I want to get your thoughts on that. But the Gamecocks in Greenville, 2-point favorites there. You got Pittsburgh and Knoxville taking on the Vols. Pittsburgh's a 3-point favorite over Tennessee. You got A&M out at Colorado. Most think that A&M should be fine, but there is an altitude situation here. So careful, everybody. Careful. They got to go up to Mile High. You got Texas, 15th ranked in the country, coming in to Fayetteville this weekend to take on Arkansas. You got NC State and Mississippi State. Kentucky and Missouri are going to play within the league in the SEC. So that's why it's kind of a blue-collar weekend. Like, we're going to learn a lot about some teams here in week 2 and maybe where they'll stand in their leagues. But of all of those, is there one that interests you more than others, first off?
Yes, but I'm going to get to it in a second. Okay, so here's what I need. I need to be informed first off, and I need about a 90-second filibuster from one or both of you second off. Before I talk about South Carolina, East Carolina,
okay,
I've watched the line move across 0, and I've taken dozens and dozens of emails and DMs about this all week. So what is the actual mood among South Carolina fans about this game?
Well, I can tell you what mine is, and I think it's fairly similar to others out there. After watching ECU, I'm going to give you a little bit of a more of an X's and O's answer to this. After watching ECU and after watching the Gamecocks and kind of understanding where their strength would be, I think people feel decent because Carolina's better in the trenches, but it's a very cautious optimism.
And it was only 60 seconds. Okay, so you're going to have to walk down the stairs with me. Our model has the game right at pick. And what I had hoped was, I hoped I would crank that thing up and I would see Gamecocks -6 or something like that. But I've learned not to argue with that model. It's one I'm going to watch. It's one that I don't think anyone listening to this show believes anything other than South Carolina should win.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, what I did not get to do is I didn't get to fully watch South Carolina's week 1 game.
Yeah.
I'm still working my way through a lot of games. I try and watch like 2 or 3 dozen of them. And so what I don't know is what worked in week 1, especially at quarterback, and what possibly could be picked up on. Because I have a nightmare every time I get confident at all about a week 1 team from now until eternity. I'm going to have the nightmare of KJ Costello week 1 on the road at LSU, and Mike Leach on the road at LSU. And then how much confidence? Do you realize this time last year people were talking Heisman about KJ Costello? And then he proceeded to go, I think, 1 touchdown to 8 interception ratio over the next month. And so that I'll be watching this game this weekend. Man, I hope it turns out well. And I think we all know what I mean by well.
When you said the line, did you say the line you had at 6 or did you say pick?
Pick, right
Pick.
at 0.
Yeah,
so
okay, that's what I thought.
First ever tie game, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the one that you mentioned that I'm very, very intrigued by that should get more attention, but it won't, is Missouri at Kentucky.
Yeah.
That one, given what we saw last week, and, I think a lot of people expected Missouri to incrementally improve this year, but there were questions about Kentucky. And granted, there still are, but I think they emphatically answered at least the question of what are they trying to do this year? Because a lot of times you'll hear rumor in the off season, you'll hear rumor in the spring, we're going to install this, install that. And you'll get to fall and week 1 will happen and you won't see any, or maybe just a fraction of what you expected. And you'll say, where's it at? And then, the beat writers will tell you, well, you got to give it time. You can't just, Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, they pretty much built it overnight in Lexington. As far as style goes and as far as philosophy goes, they've made it abundantly clear what they're going to try and do. That total opened at 52. It's all the way up to 56.5 or 57 now. I regret not getting on it at 52, but man, I really think that has potential for shootout written all over it. And we don't know what Florida is going to be this year.
Yeah.
But there is a chance that we're looking back in December at this game in Lexington and saying, I didn't know it in week 2, but the winner of that game was going to go on to finish second in the East.
I think that's a great point. I was about to lump Florida into this conversation with you as well, Josh, and they got to go to South Florida and go down and see Jeff Scott and Bobby Bentley, a former Gamecock, former Tiger. They're not going to have any problems in this game. South Florida isn't good at all. And in Raymond James Stadium, the 12 or 13 people that are in there are not going to be intimidating to the Gators. But I've never necessarily been a believer in Emory Jones, and I think that was more based on the fact that I just hadn't seen him enough, Josh. But after seeing him last weekend and seeing the other kid, Anthony Richardson, I think was his name, that came in for Florida and played, I don't know if they have a QB controversy or anything like that, but they still have a question. If anybody can answer the question, it's Dan Mullen. But that's a big question if you want to compete with Georgia to win the East.
Well, I think it's going to end up being heart versus eyes. Well, Emory Jones is what you want to celebrate and what you want to reward in college football. He's a guy who was a 4-star. He came in. He has sat multiple years. He has waited his turn. He hasn't been a problem off the field. And now it's presumably his time. And yet you're only capable of what you're capable of. And that's not your fault because he's a hard worker. I mean, by all accounts, Emory Jones does everything he's supposed to do. But there is a God-given limitation to every single one of us. His is higher than mine. That's why he's playing in the SEC. But it could very well be that there is a guy behind him that's not far behind him in Anthony Richardson that just has a higher ceiling. And I was talking to some people around Florida the last couple of weeks of their camp when this really started to get whispered about. And I kept being told there's going to come a time where he gets on the field, he being Anthony Richardson. He's going to get on the field. He's going to do what he's been doing in practice. And the whole world's going to see it, and you will not be able to keep him off the field. And he made a couple of plays last week that if you were watching the game, God bless you, because it was otherwise very unnotable. But he got on the field, and it was just the kind of thing that if you've kind of been lulled to sleep watching a sleepwalking game and then that kind of play happens, it's almost like the Manziel scramble touchdown against Bama in Tuscaloosa. They still show replays of. You just jump out of your chair and you go, what did I just see? And that's what Anthony Richardson did. Now, that's one play in a blowout game. That doesn't mean that he is equipped to manage a team and to run an offense and all that stuff, but it means there is too much talent to deny. And now it's going to be really fascinating this week. Like you said, they should not struggle with South Florida. How do they handle that quarterback rotation? Because they have a team coming into Gainesville next week they probably will struggle with.
Yeah, I think so. I think everybody's going to struggle with that team that comes to Gainesville next week. All right, so somebody that might see that team at the end of the year is Georgia. Some reports out there that maybe JT Daniels has something going on, an oblique or something like that. Josh, I don't know if you can confirm any of those reports or not, but nobody scored a touchdown last week offensively in the ball game between Clemson and the Dogs, but the Dogs got the win 10-3. So here they are in prime position. There literally looks like nothing on it, including Florida, nothing on their regular season schedule that should stop them. Although there's always somebody, it seems, for Georgia, but there shouldn't be anybody. On the other side for Clemson, same thing. I mean, they shouldn't lose another game this year. So what did it at all, that game, determine last weekend?
Wait a second. So are you telling me that you do not expect Mike Bobo and Bo Nix to hang 30-plus on Georgia? Is that what you're telling me? I'm
telling you exactly that, yes.
Okay, I was about to wash out my bowl, but since you answered that succinctly, I'll move on. I told me I was going to dry in there, so I'll forget about that. So, yes, I agree with this. I do agree with this. One of the fun prop bets could be, will South Carolina score more offensive points against Georgia than Clemson did? So that's a fun little local prop to get going up there. It can only be push or yes. So there's a winner or a refund either way. I am a believer, firstly, that JT Daniels does have an oblique issue and probably won't play this weekend. I haven't confirmed that. I just strongly suspect it. Secondly, I suspect that if and when he does return to full health, I think their offense is going to be significantly upgraded from what you saw last week. I know that's common sense because they didn't get in the end zone. I do not believe last week is a proper gauge on what they're going to be. I think they were smart about, pun intended here, smart about how they went about coaching that game. Because, listen, if I was standing on the field and I realized about halfway through the first quarter, Clemson's not going to score on them unless they help them. Clemson's not going to score on them. If I realized it, I know the coaching staff realized it. And one of the most aggravating things I've watched happen over the course of my life watching football is because you spend so much time getting a game plan together, and you got all those fancy calls on that play sheet, and you've repped them all, and you filtered it down, and you got yourself a finely tuned game plan. And because you've got all those plays in your hand, you got to run them. No, you don't. You don't have to run anything other than what it takes to win. And Georgia completely, I mean, they took that laminated play sheet and they just frisbeed it off into the trash somewhere, and they just took a sledgehammer playbook to Clemson. That's all they needed to do. And they coached to win the game is what they did. Well, moving forward, I am still a believer that passing game is capable of being good, and especially when they get their wide receiver talent and tight end talent back. I think they're capable of being good. I think it's going to be one of those years where they're going to have a close call somewhere. I mean, they always do, but they may very well go unscathed into Atlanta. There's probably going to be one of those conversations of, here's where Bama is right now, here's where Georgia is right now. And most people right now have convinced themselves no one can beat Bama. But you know how this works. No one just sticks with the same opinion for 11 weeks. It gets boring. And so more and more people are going to convince themselves Georgia can hang with Bama. And then we'll get into November and we'll think that Georgia is absolutely there. And the fan base will long since have convinced them of that. And so you will get into Atlanta and it will feel the same way the past Georgia and Bama games have felt. And it'll be game on if it does work out that way.
So can we have a similar situation? It's so premature to have conversations like this, but this is what's great about college football, Josh. Could we have a similar situation to last year with Notre Dame and Clemson, where we could, if you look at it right now, if nobody thinks that Georgia and Bama are going to lose, they're 1-2, which would mean they'd be 1-2 at the end of the year. Somebody's going to have to lose in an SEC championship game, and whoever loses still makes the playoff.
Yeah, you absolutely could. I think the real fun scenario that I'm sure has been thrown around, I don't believe in talking playoff in September, so I'm banned from it, but I'm sure someone has thrown around the scenario of what if it comes time to decide the fourth spot and it's Georgia-Clemson. And Clemson's got what is presumed to be one of the big tiebreakers, that being a conference championship, and Georgia doesn't, but Georgia's got the head-to-head. And then all of a sudden you get freaking FPI telling you who'd be favored over who on a neutral field, which just makes me want to stab my eyes out. Yeah, I think we could easily see that coming from several months away, to be honest with you.
Is that FBI thing ever been right? No? I don't know.
It's consistent.
FPI is in English. If you go to Google Translate and you type in FPI, it translates to LOL. That is what FPI is.
All right, I know we got to let you get out of here in just a couple of minutes, but I can't let you go without asking about LSU. One of the neater storylines in football this weekend will be Ed Orgeron's son as the quarterback at McNeese State playing against the Tigers. But we all know that the fans of the Bayou Bengals, yeah, they don't care about that. All they want to see is LSU go out there and rack up a bunch of points and win, unlike they did last week at UCLA. So last week, you probably heard it, right? Nationally, the guy who was waving the flag all week long for UCLA seemingly was Kirk Herbstreit. He said, everybody, watch out. And it happened. UCLA beat them. What did that mean? Or, I mean, it's September. I'm with you. But what does that mean? What does it mean for UCLA? What's it mean for LSU?
Let me tell you what else happened. I'm going to talk about this more tonight. It wasn't just the loss. Obviously, I mean, if you lose a classic where everyone's executing at a high level, you tip your cap, you move on. Mm-hmm. If you're getting blown off the ball by a team we know is inferior talent-wise to you, then that's an effort. I mean, that's a toughness, that's a mentality, that's a culture issue. Toughness, by the way, is not hype videos. Toughness is not what you sound like coming out of the locker room. It's not how many eye black stickers you have on. That's not toughness. Toughness is putting your face in a fan. And they don't have enough guys willing to do that right now for the other folks in that coaching room and for that locker room. So what happened in addition to the loss is they had starters for the team in the media come out and say, I don't think we were ready to play. Oh, I don't think we were conditioned enough to play. Now you tell me, even if you know that's true, when have you ever seen a culture built on respect and trust and loyalty where guys just openly feel free to talk like that? Because I've never seen it before. And so, yeah, it's one loss. Yeah, it's only September. I think there may very well be terminal issues there that were present last year and have not been rectified. And I can tell you confidently, there are people behind the scenes down there who feel the same way.
Oh, bad news. Bad news for LSU. They have blue collar games, as I like to call them, up and down their schedule. And based on what we saw last weekend and based on what you're saying there, you could lose any which one of them. Mississippi State, Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. Watch out. They're going to lose against Alabama.
I had a buddy text me. He was trying to make the case for LSU, and he said, all these people are overreacting because what if UCLA is the best team in the Pac-12 South?
Yep.
And I said, well, I don't know that they are, but they look good. But I'll grant you that. How about I just grant you that? You tell me, even if that's true, what did UCLA do that 4 or 5 other teams on LSU's schedule aren't capable of doing? And what are you just going to do? Are you going to say, well, yeah, we lost to Auburn, but they're as good as UCLA. Can't knock them for that. No one wants to go 7-5 or 8-4 down there and say, well, those other teams were really good.
No, that's very true, especially 2 years after winning a national championship. Ooh. All right, so tonight, late kick live, 8 o'clock, right? What are you going to talk, football or hockey? What are you talking about tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to opt for football tonight. So we're going to use the old tried and true method, see if it works. We are going to talk about that LSU deal in a little bit more detail. I'm going to talk about Saban being pissed after winning 44-13. That's always fun. Imagine being an LSU fan, knowing the situation you were in, and then your biggest rival is irate because of his attitude after they won 44-13 over a top 20 team. Those are different worlds. That's like standing on Jupiter and looking at Neptune. That's what it feels like in Baton Rouge right now. So we're going to do that. Got probably a couple more Ramen Noodle Express edition. So scratch your neck and then tune in that order, like any addict would do. And we will just see where else the rest of the day takes us.
It's absolutely fantastic. You're absolutely right. You would think that with Saban, the quote shtick would get old, but it never gets old, and it works every single time for Nick. And here's my final thought for you. If Orgeron if it ain't there this year, and we all know how it goes down in Baton Rouge, let's fire this guy. They knock on the door of one rat poison Lane Kiffin to come save the day. How about that?
I think that would be a very sage move. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Josh, you're the best, man. Have a wonderful time in Ames, Iowa this weekend. I think that's going to be a great football game. I really can't wait to watch it, and I certainly can't wait to watch you ponder around with all the Cyclones fans up there. Enjoy.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Later, absolutely. Man. There you go. Well, seriously, one of the great dudes out there covers college football, Josh Pate. Late kick live tonight. The important word there, live, and then live again on Sunday, and then live again on Tuesdays, 8 o'clock.
It's easy to find. You can go to the 247 Sports YouTube channel, or if you Google Late Kick or Google Josh Pate or Google 24/7 Sports, it's very, very, very easy to find. Trust me, you'll enjoy it. I've been in the sports media TV world for a long time, and I said this to you yesterday. He delivers it differently, and it's refreshing, and it's unique, and it's fast paced, and it's enjoyable. There's a lot that he's doing right. He's going to be a star. I mean, like a star one day.
Don't forget about us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget about us. Speaking of us, we're 3 minutes past a break. We got to hit that. When we return, we'll fire up David Shelton on the Share Healthcare phone lines and find out who's playing high school football tonight, because we sure don't know. Hang tight. The JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. We'll be right back. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. more affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Flamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
JB Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Final hour, Thursday afternoon, September the 9th. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Very proudly, of course, presented by Motley Rice, MotleyRice.com. Find us at jbandgoldwatershow.com. Download the app, the JB and Goldwater app. You can also, in that app, follow along with high school football on Friday nights. You just click right on it. It goes right to the source, and there you go. You can keep track of all the scores throughout the state of South Carolina through the JB and Goldwater app. JB, Darren, and David Shelton, who covers high school football for the Post and Courier, and I don't know what game he'll be covering tomorrow because I don't know who the heck's playing, but he joins us now. Hey, man.
Hey, happy rainy Thursday.
Well, better Thursday morning than adding to the chaos of Friday, right? We already have COVID issues on Fridays. We don't need rain.
Yeah, I'm glad it's moving out. I'm glad. I mean, there's going to be some wet fields because it has rained quite a bit since last night. But it is moving out and should be clear tomorrow. Nice hot day. But there'll be some wet fields. But so what? It's football.
So I have a very important question to ask you. Who's playing tomorrow?
Okay.
Who's playing football? Is anybody playing football tomorrow?
Yeah. Plenty of games.
Okay.
Let's not over dramatize a few cancellations here, James. There'll be plenty of football. There'll be plenty of football played. Cane Bay, James Island, Baptist Hill, Scotch Branch, BE, Philip Simmons, Lamar, Timberland, Goose Creek, Stall, Barnwell, Burke. You want me to keep going? Anahan, Stratford, big one, Myrtle Beach at Oceanside. Myrtle Beach's first game of the year.
Yes.
They've been COVIDed since mid-August, I guess. River Bluff is coming down to play Berkeley tomorrow. That's a pretty
big one.
Entertaining. Could be a big game. Yeah. There are some games. Dorchester 2's not playing. Somerville, Ashley Ridge, Fort Dorchester. They're on virtual this week and next. But I hear that they may be able to play next Friday. I think they're going to be allowed to practice next Thursday, so they figure, hey, let's just play Friday, 1 day of practice. But you know, for teams like Port Dorchester, I don't think that's a big deal, to be honest with you. You know, they have so many. All these schools now do the Zoom meetings on watch film and do all the stuff. They have to work out on their own, so you have to hope they do that. But if they do that, you know, I guess the only thing to worry about is the physicality of the game. But hopefully they'll be able to play next Friday, depending on how the district views the a 10-day virtual learning, shut down the school kind of thing. But yeah. I mean, there'll be games every week until every school is gone virtual. There'll be games every week, so that's not going to happen. So there'll be football every Friday. This maybe not as many games as maybe you want, but plenty for me to keep up with. I know that.
Yeah, well, you know, when Wando's not playing, I just tune out. No, I'm kidding. All right, so to both of you, all right, so where are you going to be tomorrow night, David? And where are you going to, or what game do you have tomorrow night on TV, Darren?
So I'll be quick, David, because I don't think he's going to be with me. He's finally going to get a break from the long game. We've got the Fighting Eric Bendig Iron Horses of Phillips,
right.
9th-ranked team at the 2A level in year 4. They're hosting Bishop England. We got that tomorrow.
Oh, Philip Simmons. This is the Clements Ferry Cup. The Clements Ferry Cup is what they should call this. Philip Simmons wins big.
Wins big?
Oh yeah, big. It's not going to be close.
Man,
three touchdowns.
I'm glad I do not take your advice and bet on high school games, because I would be broke.
They've, for the record, never beaten Bishop England.
Yeah, but Bishop England hadn't beaten anybody this year, and Philip Simmons is 3-0.
They've been close.
Well, now let's you know, this is where the truth detector comes into play. Let's pump the brakes on Philip Simmons. They have won 3 games. They have won 3 games they should have won because they were better than the teams they played. They're probably a little better than Bishop England, but this will be a very competitive game. Bishop England's going to be okay. You know, Bishop England has played James Island very close, played Ashley Ridge, and played a much improved Porter-Gaud, and they're on their 3rd quarterback in 3 weeks. So, you know, I think this game will be very competitive. I don't see either team kind of running away with that. Having said that, I do think Philip Simmons is a program on the rise. I think they made a little statement last year when they beat Timberland. They gotta continue to build that. And you know, I mean, the old adage is you play the schedule you got and you try to win the games on your schedule, and they've done that. But I felt going in they could be 3-0. And I wasn't sure about Bishop England when, you know, back in the preseason. So, you know, I thought 4-0 was a possibility. Now I think it's more than a 50-50 possibility. But I also think Bishop England is capable of winning this game. I think it's going to be a really good game, to be honest with you. You know, I don't know that there's not a history there, but this could end up being a game, 10 years from now that could end up being a really nice rivalry, because they're pretty close, and they're those kids kind of know each other pretty well. So, so I think it'll be a very competitive game tomorrow.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, they're 15 minutes apart on basically down Clements Ferry Road. So yeah, this game this should be a rivalry. All right, so where are you going to be tomorrow, David?
I am going to go to Myrtle Beach at Oceanside.
Okay.
I think that's probably the top game in the area. Although that River Bluff Berkeley game, we'll have it covered, but that's also a really good game. And Goose Creek Wilson could be a good game. Wilson hasn't won a game yet, but they got a pretty good quarterback, and we'll see if they can handle the 5A Gators. But really looking forward to seeing Myrtle Beach. They haven't played a game yet. Oceanside has got a win last week after an 0-2 start against a team they should have beaten, a 1A team. This will be another great challenge for them. Myrtle Beach is, despite not having played a game, they're still ranked, I think, 3rd in 4A. And that's just what the writers around the state feel like they have in their arsenal. And they do have probably the best receiver in the state in Adam Randall. They got a really good quarterback, Ryan Berger, that's going to App State. They traditionally can light up the scoreboard. So I suspect there'll be some points scored tomorrow, and really good test for Oceanside, because the 2 games they lost were to really good teams. So they need to beat a really good team to kind of gain that confidence, to make themselves feel like once we get to the playoffs, we can compete with these teams. They're going to have Hanahan down the road. That's really the only conference game that will be a test for them, and Hanahan will be a test. But this is another good test for Joe Call and the Land Sharks to kind of, you beat Myrtle Beach. I don't care if Myrtle Beach has played 1 game or 4 games. If you beat Myrtle Beach, you've done something. You've accomplished something noteworthy. If you lose to them, then you kind of look at it. So that's what they're facing.
The Randall kid's committed to Clemson, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to make sure. Yeah, he can play.
So it's him, the Dutch Fork.
He's a 6'3" guy that can run, and he's a typical Clemson looking receiver, long,
big kid,
very athletic, and can get up there and go get it.
So him and the Dutch Fork receiver are the 2 1 and 2 receivers.
Yep. The Williams kid.
Yeah, Antonio Williams. Yeah, I would say probably in most people's eyes, those are probably the top 2 guys.
All right, David Shelton, 116 on this. It's been a rainy Thursday afternoon here across the Low Country, right here on the JB and Goldwater show. All right, so is Buford and West Ashley, are they playing tomorrow night?
Unless they canceled it this morning, because as far as I know, they are.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I haven't seen a cancellation, but so this is interesting because you said last week, and you hit the nail on the head. You thought that Goose Creek West Ashley game could be pretty good, and it was. West Ashley lost. But it was a 34-28 final. The Gators got the win there. And now they've got Buford. Buford's 3-0. And those 3 wins, how about this? 3 teams from Georgia. They haven't played a team from the state of South Carolina yet. And so I don't know anything about those teams that they play, but they are 3-0, and it's going to be a challenge for West Ashley tomorrow night.
Oh yeah. Buford's really good. They got a running game. They got a really good quarterback. They got a really good defensive line. The team they beat last week out of Benedictine is a really good football program. That was a huge win for Buford. This will be a challenge for West Ashley. It'll be a challenge for Buford because West Ashley, I still say, is got a pretty good team, and they had a 2-touchdown lead on Goose Creek last week and ended up not scoring again. You got to give credit to Goose Creek. They can. That running back, Demetri Simmons, he went for 220 yards or whatever. Jaleel Porter from West Ashley, the running back, went for 155 and scored 3 times. It was billed as the battle of the top 2 running backs, and they both showed out. The difference is between those 2 teams is Goose Creek can throw it. They don't only have to run it; they can throw it. West Ashley not quite as balanced, and this will be a tough road game for the Wildcats. Not a make or break. Oh my God, if we lose, we're not very good, because again, it's a very good team they're going to play. But and I understand they've gotten a lot of rain down that way, down Buford Hilton Head area. So not sure what that playing condition is going to be like by tomorrow night, but it could be sloppy.
All right, and you already mentioned it, up in Moncks Corner tomorrow night, Berkeley's going to welcome River Bluff. River Bluff, I think, won their first game, and they haven't won since. They've had a couple of tough ones in there. Berkeley won the season opener against Stall, 48-12, and next week they've got Somerville, I guess, as long as that game goes as planned. But a little interesting matchup this weekend with River Bluff coming to town as well.
Yeah, I think you're gonna. I mean, they should have beaten Stall, and they did. And it's a good win to get the Jerry Brown second era underway. But River Bluff's going to bring a physical, hard-nosed defensive team. They kind of run the option. It'll probably be a very quick game in terms of both teams just running the football, but it'll be a knockdown, drag-out type game. It won't be a beauty contest, but I think it's a good test for Berkeley. As they get ready to kind of compete with the Goose Creeks and the Somervilles and the Fort D's and people like that. I think this is a good test for them and a good test for River Bluff. River Bluff is, I don't want to say disappointing so far because they played a pretty good schedule, but they were ranked in the top 10 to start the season. And like you said, they've kind of dropped a couple here late, but they'll bring a competitive team to Monk's Corner. I mean, that'll be, folks at Monk's Corner, they saw the flash and dash last week against Stall. It'll be a different type football game tomorrow night.
Yeah, their only win is against the Fighting Monty Lees. They beat Lugoff Elgin to start the season. These next 3 Friday nights in Monk's Corner are going to be a lot of fun. You got River Bluff, and then you got Somerville, and then you have Sumter. The Gamecocks come to town as well, so that's going to be a party city up there.
I don't think they're going to play that game. I don't think the Sumter game is going to get played because that region went to early region games.
Okay.
So I think Berkeley is actually looking for a replacement game unless they've worked something out. I know as of a week or so ago, that game wasn't going to be played. So I haven't checked with Coach Brown to see if they've worked something out, but I know that region over there, the Horry County and Sumter region, Region 6, decided to play their region games now. They moved the schedule up, so that kind of bumped Berkeley. Unless they work something out, they may move that game later, or maybe something happened. I haven't really checked on it, but as of my knowledge, as of right now, was that game was not going to be played.
Interesting. Okay.
Which is a shame because that would have been a great game.
Yeah, it would have with 2 great fan bases. Sumter brings a lot of people anywhere they go. Matter of fact, oh gosh, his name's escaped me now, but former pitcher for the Gamecocks is the AD up there right now
at Sumter.
Yeah, I can't. Used to be a closer, and I'm sitting here losing my mind because I sat there and talked to him at the regional for 3 hours.
Not Matt Price.
No. I think Matt is actually helping out though with the program. I'm
sure. Isn't he? Isn't Matt in like law enforcement or something? I thought he was, but
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing. I don't really know him that well, to be honest with you. But I know that he was kind of helping out with the program and things like that. So I don't know. Cane Bay and James Island, are they playing tomorrow? We have to ask this question before we.
Yep, that's supposed to happen. And again, it'll be a wet track because over towards the coast, down on the island areas, they got dumped on pretty good. That should be an interesting game. I mean, it's a 5A versus a 4A. James Island got their win last week, and they're feeling pretty good. Cane Bay really lost a tough one to Hanahan. I mean, by all rights, they should have won that game. They had a blocked punt that led to a touchdown. They got called for roughing the passer on a 4th and long pass play that would have probably ended the game, and Hanahan got to continue the drive and scored. I mean, it was a 1-score game. Man, Cane Bay's got a solid little team, pretty good defense, and they got some speed in the backfield. So James Island kind of got their offense going a little bit last week, but their defense has been pretty good the first 2 weeks of the season. I think they're going to have to hang their hat, honestly, on the defense and just hope the offense, finds ways to score enough points, because I think their defense is pretty athletic.
Yep.
And Darren saw them that night against Wando. I know they lost the game, but
it wasn't
really
the defense's
that
fault.
loss on the defense.
No, they were flying around. I agree. They got speed.
Yeah. Curtis Johnson.
Yep.
Curtis Johnson. Cujo, who's
Curtis Johnson. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I just, I can't believe I'm losing my mind here. I mean, I've known Cujo for years. I'm sitting there I literally talked to him for like 3 hours in Columbia, and All right. What about Hanahan and Stratford? Are they still playing tomorrow? We have to keep asking this question.
Yes, as far as I know, they should play. This will be Stratford's first game, and
Right.
Hanahan's only played one game. So again, the early COVID stuff has really set Stratford back, and they're a team that really needs to play because they got a lot of holes to fill. They got a lot of new guys. Their numbers are down a little bit. And they just haven't had a chance to get on the field. So I don't know what to expect from them tomorrow. I kind of know what to expect from Hanahan, physical, run the football, but they got a freshman quarterback. I'm telling you, y'all heard it here. That freshman quarterback at Hanahan's got some of it. And I think, Art Craig doesn't know what to do with a quarterback that throws the football, but he'll figure it out. Because they run the football so well, and that's their game. But they definitely have a throwing attack, and they will as the years progress. I mean, the kid's only a freshman, but he's got a little moxie to him. Could spin it pretty good. I think Hanahan will probably win this game. And again, we're just kind of waiting to see what Stratford's going to be like because we don't know. I mean, they hadn't played.
Wow. I can't go with that. In my pick, it's Stratford big. I'm a big Denny McDaniel fan. 3 touchdowns.
Oh, well, now I'm a Denny McDaniel fan. I just have to, call it like I see it. But again, do not put any money on Stratford winning big.
Well,
let's back up. Do not put money on high school football. It's a bad road to go down,
especially when games get canceled every 5 minutes.
Boy, when you're starting to put cash on 16, 17-year-olds,
yeah,
man, it's hard enough to figure that college stuff out. You just don't know. Coaches used to say all the time, the quarterback's girlfriend breaks up with him on Friday afternoon, and he has a really bad game, that could be the difference between winning and losing. So, a lot of stuff goes on with these high school kids, and I would not. I like to joke around about it, and I'd say, hey, take Stratford in the point, but I would never actually put cash on it because you just don't know what you're getting with high school kids.
I don't have any cash to bet on them anyway, so it doesn't matter. But I mentioned Denny. But, David, I think it is also worth pointing out just kind of a quick tribute to Coach Hayes here. Bob Hayes, he really raised a lot of good coaches. And Denny was a guy, obviously, that worked for him at Wando. I've known Coach Mack for years. He's the head coach at Stratford. Paige Walford is the head coach up at Northwestern. Coach Helms, who was a baseball and football coach at Wando, is now the offensive coordinator at Burns, and he spent time at South Point, and then he was up in Charlotte.
Rocco Adrian, too, at Wando.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Collins was the head coach at Colleton County. Look at Bendig, who played for Bob, and he's at Phillips Simmons. I mean, it's amazing, not to get off on a tangent here, but it's amazing the impact that you can have at this level of anything in sports. And Bob Hayes, just what an impact he had. I mean, it's amazing to watch all these guys and what they're doing. They're all great dudes too. Yeah.
And the Bob Hayes thing started at Stratford under Ray Stackley.
Yep. That's right.
He was an assistant and the defensive coordinator, and Denny played at Stratford, and so Ray kind of molded Bob, and then Bob takes his tree over to Wando and molds all these coaches, and now you're going to see guys like, as Denny progresses through his career, and Eric over at Phillips Simmons, there'll be coaches coming out of it. So it's kind of weird. It is kind of fun to look back at. I remember Coach Hayes when he was at Stratford way back. I mean, I think early 90s or maybe late 80s. Yeah. When I first got started in this business, and we kind of developed a pretty good friendship over the years. And because he was such his sense of humor was so different, just a dry sense of humor. But he was a really great dude and a really great coach. But like you said, he's got a coaching tree, but all that started under Ray Stackley at Stratford, and Ray has developed some guys who have been head coaches and done very well. Bob Hayes being one of them.
Absolutely, yeah. Coach Stackley, one of the greats. I mean, it's a neat trick, and you're right about Coach Hayes. I think you and I've talked about this before, David. But if you knew him well enough, you knew how he was, and it took some time when you were, he could say something. If you didn't know him, it might strike you a little differently. But if you knew him, you knew just to give it about 3 or 4 seconds, and you get a little smirk out of him, and you knew what type of conversation you were having. But you also knew when he was pretty pissed off, and I saw that once or twice as well. So
I imagine you did.
he never was in me. He never was in me. He was always cool to me. But I saw him pretty pissed off a couple times. I thought, yeah, I don't think I want to be on that side. All right, what did we miss? What did we miss real quick? And then I do want to ask you briefly about CSU and the Citadel before we let you run. But what did we miss in high school football tomorrow?
I think we covered most of them. I think the Baptist, that's a Class A game, but the Baptist Hill at Scotts Branch game is going to be a one they threw together to replace some games, but that's going to be a really good game. And then in the private school, I will say that Porter-Gaud was originally scheduled to play Lawrence Manning. They're going to play they're going to play Bethesda. LMA has got a COVID issue. And then First Baptist try to continue on, and they're playing at Ben Lippen. So should be a game they win, but a road game nonetheless.
All right. Charleston Southern Citadel Saturday. This is we'll pick this game tomorrow here on the show, and Citadel had a tough time up there in Conway. I think we all predicted that they would. The chants are pretty good. What do we know about CSU? It's the first time they're going to be on the field this year.
Yeah, and I was talking with someone yesterday, and I'm just not I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I know what they have. I know they're going to have a really good defensive front. I know their quarterback, Jack Chambers, is a really nice player, but they have not run the football in years, which sounds weird because they used to make their living running the football. But they have not had success running the football since Autry Jensen's been there. The only running game they've had really has been Jack Chambers as the quarterback. He can make plays with his feet, plays break down, and he takes off, and he's pretty quick. But I think their defense is going to be a solid unit. Offensively, I'm not sure yet. Now, I don't know what to make of the Citadel because I watched that Coastal game, and again, that just wasn't a fair fight. Coastal being at home with that crowd and with all the hype and with all those weapons they have offensively, just wasn't wasn't ready. The Citadel wasn't ready for that. But they'll be ready for the Charleston Southern. I think, 2 years ago when they played in 19, it was like a 22-14 game or something. I look for something in that area. I don't think the Citadel is going to go up and down the field on that defense, but I don't think Charleston Southern will score a lot of points as well. So I think, in terms of competitiveness, I think it'll be really close. A 24-20 type game, I could see that. I would be shocked. And again, I've only seen CSU in a half a scrimmage. I would be shocked if either team run away from the other. But, I guess, college football, that can happen. But I really think it's going to be a competitive battle. I think it'll be a good football game.
We need this to be a good rivalry. Jeff Barber's doing everything he can out there at CSU to try to get it going, and Autry's a pretty good, darn good football coach. And so let's hope it is a good game. It'd be good for the city of Charleston in this area, and we'll pick that game tomorrow.
Yeah, it got to be a good rivalry. Charleston Southern won those 4 in a row and closed the gap. Of course, they had to vacate 3 of those wins because of their NCAA stuff, but. On the field, it's 7-5 Citadel. So it has been competitive in the last decade. Now, first couple of times they played, it was blowout city, but that was a different Charleston Southern program and a different Citadel program. So I kind of think it's going to be competitive. I think Autry and Brent get along fine. I don't think there's the rivalry that Houston and Chadwell had, but I think they get along fine. And I think Autry wants this game. He wants to play this game. And I got a story in the paper today. He loves playing them on the road. He said he'd play every game on the road if he could. He loves road games. He loves the hostile atmosphere. I did have to break it to him. I was like, you do got to play some home games this year. And, but they got Monmouth next week. Then they go to East Carolina. Yeah. And at the end of the year, they go to Georgia. That game will not be competitive.
They're not going to throw a wrench in Georgia's playoff hopes by going to Athens and beating them.
I would now, if Jamie will let me borrow some money, I will put some cash and I will take the Bulldogs and whatever the spread is.
It's going to be big.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy on that one, pal. I don't have any. I don't even have any of my own money to borrow. I have to borrow from my wife. She gives me my allowance. Tomorrow's Friday too, so I get a little dough in the pocket for the weekend.
Good.
Yeah, like I love Fridays. I get some money for the weekends. All right. Final quick note here. This was really cool. Here's going to be my little Lee Corso moment for both of you. Dorman head volleyball coach Paula Kirkland got her 1,000th career win yesterday. Awesome.
Yeah.
But not good enough because Wando's Alexis Glover got her 1,100th career win. So congratulations to Coach Glover, one of the great coaches in any sport in history.
Years ago, they were within like 10 wins of each other.
Yep.
And Wando, now Paula Kirkland has more state titles, but they were within like 10 wins, and it was like, 800, 900. They were really close, but Wando in the last 4 years has just went on a tear.
Yeah.
And they won the state title last year, but they had a limited schedule. They would have probably won 45 matches last year, but they've been winning upper 30s, low 40s, and they're really good again this year. So, and the thing about Coach Glover and Coach Kirkland is they've been doing, they're both over 60, and they've been doing this a long time, but their energy level, if I had Alexis Glover's energy, and I'm younger than her, but I would kill for her energy level. She is, I don't know if she's Texas Superfoods or some kind of crazy vitamin regimen, but the lady has more energy than anybody I've ever seen. And so, people go, man, how long more is she going to coach? Man, she can coach. She can literally coach 10 more years. I don't think that would be a problem.
I don't think so. I don't think so. And she's never aged. She looks the same. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing. And it's a great family. All of them. They're all great people. Okay, man, we got to let you run on that note. Have a wonderful weekend. Good for you. You don't have the boring TV game tomorrow night where Darren and Dean are talking about Kraft mac and cheese and monkey bars and all kinds of other things. I'm just kidding, Darren.
Depends on what they feed us.
It's not that they're boring. It's just that guy with the red hat that stands on the sideline. Every time the game gets going, he walks out on the field. And I just, like I said, I'd like to have a little pellet gun just to pop him in the rear end, get him off the field.
So would the officials who oftentimes see him, at least at the high school level. It doesn't really happen outside of high school. But a lot of times the officials see a red hat in high school and they're like, either they don't know or they don't care. And they're just like, let's play. And you miss a play or a kickoff or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The guy almost really has to stand. Mm-hmm. Almost has to go like 30 yards onto the field.
Yeah, he's got to make him not play.
Blow a horn.
It's funny. It's funny to watch because last week at the Fort D Dorman game, I was sitting in the visitors press box, and the Dorman statistician and their radio people were over there, and they did not realize it was a TV game. Mm-hmm. They didn't realize why the long pause, and they kept talking about it. I was like, what they didn't see the red hat guy down there, and so they kept kind of talking about it. And finally at one break, I walked over to him and went, hey, this is on TV. That's why there's this long pause. Oh, that makes sense. But it was like, I don't see what the holdup is. I don't see any injuries or anything. And I'm like,
The
I was
holdup
sitting in the other booth, but I could hear it.
The holdup was
like,
neither
I'm not gonna
team.
go tell 'em.
Neither team ran the ball. That was the holdup. That's what created the long game.
Yeah, because they both threw it a bunch.
100 times.
Yeah. It was a good game, though.
It was
a good game.
Yeah.
All right, David. Have a great weekend.
Okay, man. Y'all have fun.
Thank you, brother. There you go. David Shelton with the Post and Courier. All right, time for our final time out of the afternoon. When we return, Scott Glaze will fill us in on Patrick Cantlay and the Ryder Cup team for the Americans right here on the JB and Goldwater Show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and online.
You're welcome. 1:43, final 15 minutes on this Thursday afternoon. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Out to Stono Ferry we go. That's where we find the very talented and beautifully haired, handsome, all that type of stuff, Scott Glaze. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys? Are you? None of us are $15 million richer this week.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
But yeah, everything's good out here. Quite a bit of rain this morning.
Yeah.
A bit of a deluge. I think, gosh, we almost got 2.5 inches this morning. I was talking to our superintendent just 15, 20 minutes ago. So a lot of rain, but going to dry out. Going to be good this weekend. We actually have our club championship this weekend. So that's a pretty prestigious tournament that we have. It's going to determine the best player at the club. And in multiple divisions, we have a club champion, we have a women's champion, we have a senior champion, and a super senior champion. So we'll have some trophies to hand out this weekend. That's always fun. But weather's coming around, and it's a great time to play golf for sure. And the course is phenomenal. It was out there yesterday. Rain won't hurt it too much, but the course is really, really good. So shout out to our grounds crew, our maintenance staff, for getting the course in great shape.
Everybody seems to be coming around. Well, I'm not, Doug. I'm just kidding. I had to get a Happy Gilmore in there when I heard you say that. So, so the course this weekend. You can't play
after 1 o'clock.
After 1 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, our tee times for the club championship are going to run from 7:30 to a little past noon. So starting at 1 o'clock, tee times are open. I know that's tough on Saturday and Sunday with college and now NFL football going on. But it's like I said, one weekend out of the year. Well, we have several. It's one of the benefits of being a member here at Stone Ferry. We've got some really, really awesome events several weekends throughout the year, club championship being one of them. So good. So not only social events, but it's good competition too. And if you're that type of player, this is the time to come out and do it.
Who's going to win? Who's at least let's put it this way. Who's the favorite in the eyes of the head professional who sees it all? Who's the favorite to win?
Can Darren bet on this?
It's funny you say that.
What's
JV.
the purse? Is it 15 million?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not 15 million. I can tell you that. It might be a couple free hot dogs in the grill, but no, we may, as a staff, we may or may not kind of set some odds amongst ourselves for when it comes to the club championship. It's actually going to be pretty wide open this year. We have our 4-time defending club champion, Jacob Morris. He played collegiately at Francis Marion. He graduated in the spring, and subsequently, due to kind of the bylaws of membership at Stone Ferry, he is no longer on his parents' membership. So he's got to be a member on his own, and he said he needs to be a little more solidified in his job before he does that. So he is not competing this year. So it's wide open. We got 12 guys in our championship division. So we're going to have a new champion for the first time in 4 years in the championship division. We have a woman by the name of Donna Hill, our women's club championship. I think she's won the women's club championship over a dozen times. So she's safe money. Now she is going to have some competition. And probably actually the fiercest competition we're going to have is our senior championship. That one's going to be a crapshoot. We got a lot of guys, our defending champions of the senior championship over 50 years old. Our defending champion went out and played with our GM and one of our assistant pros yesterday and shot 69. So we got some players out here, and that's why I really like the club championship weekend, because it gives those people time to shine individually and play like those guys on TV.
So good thing that David Kite isn't still there, because his dad, Tom Kite, could be a senior member, and he'd go out there and whip everybody and no one would even know. Wait a second, Tom Kite.
Yeah.
Was he a member?
He win before he put the peg in the ground with the intimidation factor there. That's for sure. I've gotten my fair share. I've had a couple beatings via Tom Kite, so
I bet.
I know how that feels.
I know he's played Stono a bunch. How does he fare out there when he has played? What's the last time that you've seen David Kite or Tom Kite?
I see David a good amount.
Okay.
David comes out. He'll bring his girls out, and they'll practice or come out on a weekend afternoon, have some family time. David likes to ramp his game up towards the end of the year when they play in that father-son tournament down in Orlando. But no, he is a busy dude. So we see him every now and then. He was out a couple weekends ago playing. Haven't seen Tom in a couple years, but he fares very well out here because he doesn't miss many shots. I mean, just like in his playing career, hits the ball very straight. He's extremely accurate, and that's what you need at Stone Ferry. Back when we did our run through of all 18 holes, kind of describing the holes, and that is the common theme, is that you have to be accurate out here. You have to hit the ball straight. We don't have a lot of room to spray it off the tee and then be able to hit the greens. So of course, and he's one of the best of all time to do it. So there are not many golf courses that you can throw in front of him and he's not going to be able to figure out. But it's always a treat when he comes out here because he's a extremely well-known World Golf Hall of Famer. But he's not somebody like a Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus or somebody that's going to be instantly recognizable as soon as they step up on a golf course. So one of my favorite things is when he's visited is the double takes that people do. Whether he's on the range or passing him on the golf course or saying hi to him in the grill or something, people do double takes. Oh wait, that's Tom Kite. So
I've seen that
you never
guy.
know when you're out here. When you're out here, you might run into to a World Golf Hall of Famer.
So cool. So cool. Great family. Just a great family, much like the Glaze family. All right, so John Rahm, one shot cost him $10 million last weekend. That damn John Rahm. I know you picked him to win. Shot in the 60s all weekend. So did Cantlay, but Cantlay won it at 21 under. So just a marvelous finish for Patrick Cantlay. And now I'm kind of since we've got about 8 or 9 minutes left here, kind of lumping this in. We've got the Ryder Cup team finalized as well. So we'll start with what you saw last weekend. Pretty good payday for Patrick Cantlay and his performance.
Great payday for Patrick Cantlay. He was not my pick, but he was stoic and he started the week with the lead and he kept it all 4 days. And you have to give huge kudos to that. In the 15 years that we have had the FedEx Cup playoffs, he is now the 13th different champion. So I think that really just speaks to how entertaining the FedEx Cup is. He won the last 2 events of the year, the first person to do that and win the FedEx Cup since Billy Horschel did that back in 2014. Now, Billy Horschel famously did not make the Ryder Cup team that year after going on a tear to go win the BMW, the Tour Championship, and subsequently the FedEx Cup. Patrick Cantlay will be on the Ryder Cup team this week. John Rahm and Kevin Na they tied for the best cumulative score to par for the week. But as we talked about with the staggered setup, it wasn't enough to catch Cantlay. The average proximity to the hole on the PGA Tour this year from 200 to 225 yards is 42 feet. On the 72nd hole with a one-shot lead and $15 million on the line, Patrick Cantlay hit it to 11 feet. So that is it's pretty clutch right there. John Rahm certainly put up a fight, but really, really big stones there from Cantlay to hold on and have such a huge payday. In 1995, Greg Norman finished the year and through 1995 was the PGA Tour's all-time leader on the money list with a cumulative $9.5 million. The difference between the money that Patrick Cantlay and John Rahm won between first and second place just in the 2021 FedEx Cup was $10 million. So it's really crazy where the game of golf is financially. And it's really going to shape up. I love seeing an American go up against John Rahm as we go into the Ryder Cup because I think we're in store for some fireworks in a few weeks up in Whistling Straits. And John Rahm is just he can't be stopped. I mean, it really the only thing that stopped him was the staggering of the scores there to start the weekend. He's finished first in this season in scoring average, strokes gained total, strokes gained tee to green, top 10 finishes, and in birdie average. He's clearly the best player in the game, and he's going to be tough to beat in the Ryder Cup. And I really could see him almost see that whole European team jumping on his back. Another John Rahm stat, full of stats today for you. He played in 22 starts. Actually, he was 21 starts this year, I believe, on the PGA Tour. He had 15 top 10 finishes in those starts. The only other players to do that since 1980 are Tom Watson, Tiger did it twice, and Dustin Johnson, now John Rahm. So it puts into perspective what a impressive season it was for him. Came up just short of $5 million, certainly nothing to scoff at. And I believe he'll be the player of the year. but the talk of the town, so to speak, is Patrick Cantlay.
When is the Player of the Year announced?
I don't know the specific date. I believe it will be in the coming weeks. I think it's before the Ryder Cup. It actually might be maybe that week of the Ryder Cup, but they don't drag it out too terribly long. I don't think, because shortly after the Ryder Cup, we start this wraparound season. We'll start the 2021/22 season. Yeah. So that will be announced along with the Varden Trophy and the Snead Trophy.
All right, so Reed is out. It's Cantlay, DeChambeau, DJ, Brooksy, Morikawa, JT, Berger, English, Finau, Schauffele, Scheffler, and that one's been getting some talk the last 24 hours or so. And Jordan Spieth, of course, the captain is Steve Stricker. Those final 6 that I mentioned were the captain's picks. What stands out to you there?
Patrick Reed not being there, but I didn't think that Patrick Reed needed to be there. I know that he is Captain America. He has done well in these team events. I think a lot of it is his demeanor, his attitude on the golf course, his fiery demeanor in these team events, getting the crowd really hyped up. But Reed has not played fine golf this year. He really has not been true to some of the form that we've seen of him in the last couple of years. He was part of the conversation. I think the fact that he was battling double pneumonia a few weeks ago, has not played. He played in the Tour Championship, didn't play the 2 weeks prior. I think that certainly hurt his chances. I also would venture to guess that Steve Stricker, with the amount of drama that we have with some of these guys already on the team, Brooks, Bryson, DJ, Cantlay, some of these guys, that there's a lot of tension in between. I really got the feeling from the 6 guys that he picked, they're all great players, but all of them are not going to rattle any cages. And I think had you brought in Patrick Reed, that would bring in a little more drama on the team. And really, we've been getting our butts kicked in the Ryder Cup going on about 10 years now. I think there have only been 2 wins for the Americans, and the Europeans, each time they've won for the most part, besides Medina, where they had the huge comeback, has been a pretty lopsided win. So the U.S. is looking to make sure that doesn't happen again, get back to winning ways. I really like the picks. I love the Scotty Scheffler pick to bring in some youth, somebody who's going to be really, really excited to be there. Now, we'll see if nerves play a factor for him, but he's got quite a bit of swagger. And I also love the Daniel Berger pick. For those not in the know, Daniel Berger is a very fiery competitor, makes birdies in bunches, and that is huge in a Ryder Cup, especially with crowds at full capacity. These crowds especially a home crowd, is going to want to see the ball go in the hole. Birdies, fist pumps. Daniel Berger always makes a ton of birdies, and is a perfect person to have in this match play and very momentum-based competition. So I love the picks. This is the strongest team in terms of world ranking to date ever in the Ryder Cup, and I've got the list right here of world rankings for everyone.
Wow.
DJ number 2, Morikawa number 3, Cantlay number 4, Xander number 5, JT number 6, DeChambeau number 7, Finau number 9, Koepka number 10, Harris English number 11, Jordan Spieth number 15, Daniel Berger number 16, Scotty Scheffler is 21st. So we have 12 guys in the top 21 in the world that are all on the U.S. Ryder Cup team. That is great for the state of golf in this country. It hopefully is going to be great for Steve Stricker in his home state of Wisconsin. And I'm really, really looking forward to the Ryder Cup. It's such a special biannual tournament that we have. I guess last thing on the team is I was running through, love to see that Spieth's back on there, and that he's in good form, but also so proud of Harris English. That guy really battled through some lows in his career of what he will call as losing his game. He lost his game, almost lost his tour card, lost his job, was able to fight back, and is in the running for Player of the Year this year, winning multiple times, lots of top tens. Played his way through captain's pick onto the Ryder Cup team. He's from Georgia, went to Georgia, so somewhat of a local guy, down here in the Southeast, and easy to pull for. So glad to see that he is that he made the team as well. And on paper, we should beat the stew out of the Europeans, but it never seems to happen. They're going to have to convince me. They're going to have to come out strong and do it all the way until that last putt drops on Sunday before I'm going to feel comfortable with that.
Next week, we'll be able to preview the Ryder Cup with you. It will crank up the following Friday, I believe, the 24th of September, I think, is when the Ryder Cup begins up there at Whistling Straits. Right?
Yeah, going to be great. Great golf course. It sets up great for the American team. All of these guys really bomb the golf ball too. I think every single player was in the top 50 on the PGA Tour in driving distance this year, except for one. That was Colin Morikawa. So these guys really move it out there. Whistling Straits is a long golf course. It's going to set up for as a bomber's paradise, and I'm sure that the U.S. squad will set it up that way since they are the quote unquote home team. So we're gonna see some bombs and some fireworks. I guess no pun intended, but it's gonna be a great venue and a great event.
Scott Glaze, Stono Ferry Golf, stonoferrygolf.com. Members tournament this weekend, but you can book your tee times after 1 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. Head to stonoferrygolf.com right now to find those tee times, find out about membership, lessons, and so much more. You can even maybe find a picture of one of the great hot dogs that they have out there at Stono Ferry. They're about yay big. stonoferrygolf.com on the banks of the Stono River in the beautiful and original Hollywood, South Carolina. All right, brother, have a wonderful weekend. Have a great time. I'm sure the tournament's going to be awesome. It's going to be great to see all the members, and we certainly look forward to next week and the following with the Ryder Cup approaching. As always, go USA.
That's right. I'll get my patriotic gear for the next couple of weeks, and I'll send you all those undercover odds for the club championship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Scott Glaze, Stono Ferry. And with that, we are out of time. Tomorrow, the big Gamecock preview show at 1 o'clock. This is JC Sherbert and Michael Flint right here on JB and Goldwater. ECU, South Carolina. Certainly looking forward to a full hour on this ball game. Raphael will join us with mybookie.ag. We'll look at all the lines across the country. We've got NFL to talk about starting tonight. So this is going to be a big Friday to cap off a short work week heading into the weekend. Thanks to Josh Pate, David Shelton, and Scott Glaze for joining us today. Thanks as always to Darren and all of you. The JB and Goldwater show, driven by Stokes Volkswagen and very proudly presented by Motley Rice, returns tomorrow at noon, and we look forward to seeing you then.